What's up? We're going to give this a go here. If you're watching, this is in fact the first video, but I feel like I'm just being called to this. Let me give you some background. I have never read the Bible in my entire life. I was born into a somewhat religious family. I was baptized when I was born. My parents went to Catholic school, and it's been around in my family, right? But I've never took the personal steps, I guess you could say, into following my own faith and reading the Bible and things of that nature. I was never praying, things like that. At least not since I was a kid. Like I know I went to like a religious like preschool, but I went to public, elementary, middle, and high school. But not until the last like year or so, I felt that it was slowly growing more and more. But not until the last like year or so, I guess you could say, I really started diving into it, and I really got called in. But again, never read the Bible ever. And a couple months ago, I decided to buy one. This beautiful one here, I believe it's NIV. Sorry, forgive me. Just got on Amazon, and I started reading. It's kind of just a goal that I do like a page a day or so, or not even just a page, just like a chapter a day. So that's like sometimes it's a page, sometimes a little more, sometimes it's a little less. Just depends on the chapter. And I'm now 84 pages deep. Can you believe that? Relatively crazy. So that means I've read Genesis, Exodus, and then I'm about to start Leviticus. But I kind of wanted to go through Genesis today and what I learned from it, at least, and maybe give you guys a few lessons. I always heard how God created this world, right? The let there be light. I think everybody knows about that. But I wrote down notes. This is like a note-taking one. But I really took away light and dark, right? He said, let there be light. And I have highlighted, let there be light. God saw that the light was good, and he separated the light from the darkness, right? And this is big. This is really big. I definitely highlighted this because this sets a standard for how everything works in this world. Light and dark. There's always good and bad, and there's no one without the other, right? Right. So that's essentially how everything works in this world, right? There's nothing good that comes without there being bad, right? In every situation, no matter what, you could think of any situation, and then there's bad things that come along with it. And then when you think of bad situations, there is good that comes along with it, no matter what. And this is kind of something in your mindset you have to change whenever something bad happens to you. Always find the good in it, right? Let's say you got a bad grade. Let's say if you have a sport, you have a bad game. Things of that nature, you can always find a positive, right? You can always find a mistake that you made in your game or that you can change, and next time you can correct it, right? You can, you learn from having a bad exam by studying more, right? You learn from it, and these are things that wouldn't happen unless you messed up first. Does that make sense? So that is the very beginning of the Bible. There's a lesson about life that, goes for everything, legitimately everything. So that's definitely a blessing. And, you should totally break down almost every line you read. If you guys are tuning in here, maybe some of you guys have never read it before and are thinking about it, I highly recommend it, because there's just so much about life in there. There's so much about life that you can learn. I obviously also have written that we learn that God is the ultimate creator of everything, legitimately everything. When it comes to my microphone here, when it comes to the camera I'm looking into, when it comes to the shirt I have on, the chains on, God is the creator of everything, right? The birds outside, the lake that you fish in, all that stuff. Everything that you look at is the work of God. And that's just something that, once you realize it, you just become a lot more grateful for everything and a lot more grateful for him. Let's see. And that's all just the first page, by the way. That is legitimately all the first page. So when we go to chapter 3 here of Genesis, let's see what I have highlighted here. I highlighted, now the serpent was more crafty than any of the wild animals that the Lord has made. The Lord God has made, forgive me. So this is kind of just touching on how the enemy, right? We said there's no good without bad. So if there's a ultimate good, which is, God, then there has to be an ultimate bad. And what, this line is telling us is that, the bad is crafty, right? The serpent is crafty. So essentially what this is portraying is, you might not realize that something is bad until after it happens, if that makes sense. A lot of times this comes in like short-term pleasure, I guess, things of that nature. Something that feels right in the moment and you realize, yeah, that's not good. And again, that just comes along with, there's no light without dark. Something bad happens, you make a mistake. You learn from it and you don't make the same mistake the next time, right? Lots of lessons here. As you can see, tons of stuff highlighted. Pretty lovely. I got to get back on that. As I got into like the later chapters, I kind of started highlighting less. I kind of got to get back on that. That way for when I go back, I can kind of see the important parts. So he creates Adam and Eve, right? Everybody knows these names, but this kind of goes deeper on them, obviously. And one thing that I noted that was pretty big, I like how it says, when a man is united to his wife, they become one flesh. So this is pretty beautiful, right? It's just going about how beautiful marriage is, and when you do marry eventually, you and your partner essentially become one, right? You guys become one flesh, and that's the beauty of it. And it says it right here at the second page of the Bible. It says, "This is now bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh. She shall be called woman, for she was taken out of man. That is why a man leaves his father and mother and is united to his wife, and they become one flesh." Right? There are the exact words. This part is big, right? I have this highlighted. So essentially, Adam and Eve had kids, right? And Cain and Abel are their names. I highlighted this line. This is chapter 4, line 6 in Genesis. Then the Lord said to Cain, "Why are you angry? Why is your face downcast? If you do what is right, will you not be accepted? But if you do not what is right, sin is crouching at your door. It desires to have you, but you must rule over it." So, kind of let that sink in a bit. I'll read it again. Then the Lord said to Cain, "Why are you angry? Why is your face downcast? If you do what is right, will you not be accepted? But if you do not do what is right, sin is crouching at your door. It desires to have you, but you must rule over it." So this is big, right? First of all, it's essentially going over how if you do what is right, good things will come, right? And if you do what is wrong, bad things will come, right? Light and dark, it's still going. But I like how it says that sin desires to have you. It desires. That's a big word. Because when we're talking about when you do right things, we say accepted. You'll be accepted. But sin desires, and that feels easier, right? Doesn't that feel a bit easier? And that's why it's so easy to slip into sin and things of that nature, because it desires you. So one thing to keep in mind is your desires, you might not really be desiring it. It desires you. And that's why you feel like you're desiring it and it feels so easy, it's because sin desires you, essentially. So, moral of the story here, doing what is hard is most likely usually the right thing, right? Doing what isn't easy is generally the right choice. Another big lesson that I took from Genesis is, understanding that God is in control, right? No matter what, he is in control. And this kind of puts you at rest, right? If you're somebody who stresses, you feel like you have a lot on your plate. When you understand that, he's the one in control and he'll take your burdens, right? And you can rest what you think is on you onto him. It's freeing, right? And it's just one of those things that really, really changes you when you realize that he's in control, and you can kind of just take a deep breath and know that it'll play out, right? And even if it doesn't turn out your way, you know that in the end it will be okay, right? Because he is the one in control. So I have this line here highlighted. This is in Genesis chapter 8. Let me go over this for you, or let me read this for you. Never again will I curse the ground because of humans, even though every inclination of the human heart is evil from childhood. So this is powerful, right? This shows how forgiving God is. He's essentially saying that all humans are born with flaws, right? In some way, every human is born with flaws, and every human has desires that lead to sin. God understands this, and he chooses to never wipe the earth, like how he previously did wipe the earth in this. So this shows how forgiving he is, and again, it might take some of that burden off your plate, knowing that he's extremely forgiving, and it kind of just shows the beauty and the grace that he has for humans. And it also goes to show that everybody sins, right? Everybody has desires. You're not alone, and you can talk to people about it, because there's not one person in this world who doesn't have desires to sin, right? There's not one person. And remember that. You look around a room, there's no reason to feel insecure in any way, right? Because everybody's human, right? The only human to ever not have sin was Jesus, and there was only one. And everybody around you is struggling, right? Probably struggling more than you'd think. So 1, be nicer, right? Be nice to people you don't know other people are going through. 2, spread light, spread positivity, because you might help somebody out. You might motivate somebody and pull them out of desire and sin. And 3, I don't know what I was going to say. I had something. Let me think for 1 second. We'll just call it God is very forgiving. I don't know what I was going to say for 3, but that'll be the 3. Okay, this is cool. This is a pretty cool moment here. I kind of have to refresh my memory a bit, even though this wasn't that long ago. But essentially what was going on here was humans, right? Humans were, I don't know if you want to call it becoming powerful, or they were successful in what they were trying to do, right? And it was just a group of people, and they were conquering, and they felt as if nothing was impossible. And a reason that this, isn't good is because people will think that they don't need God, and people will forget that he creates everything and that he is in control of everything. And the issue was that the people thought that they were in control, which made them feel invincible, which who's invincible? God. People are not invincible. I have this quote. Oh, I wrote that. The quote's from ChatGPT, because I'll kind of help chat if I don't understand a line or two. They'll kind of break it down for me, which I like. Quoted from ChatGPT, not my words. When people Sorry, I was trying to read my writing. It's not very good. So let me restart that. When people unite against God, he humbles them. When people unite under God, amazing things can happen. Right. So, moral of the story here, nothing's impossible, right? Keep that in your mind. But nothing is impossible under God. Okay? Against God, things are impossible. Under God, nothing is impossible. Okay? You can do all things through him, but you can do nothing against him. What God does in this situation, particularly in Genesis, this is where he gave people different languages, right? To break the people up into smaller groups. So therefore they do not understand each other. That's what he does in this particular situation. But that was the moral of the story, right? Let me quote it again from chat, because this is pretty powerful. When people unite against God, he humbles them. When people unite under God, amazing things can happen. ChatGPT right there. Big time stuff. Okay, another big one here. We are in the time of Abraham, who eventually becomes Abraham. God calls Abraham to do lots of things, and he goes. And essentially, what I wrote down, extremely simple, because you can hyper and overanalyze everything in this and draw lessons. Super simple. When the Lord has a calling for you, you listen. Right? It's one of the reasons I'm making this video right now. You'll be called to do different things. Make sure that you do your callings, right? Whatever God sets you out to do it. He put you here for a reason, and he gives you opportunities for a reason, and it's up to you to take them, right? It is up for you to take them, and even if it doesn't make sense, it will make sense, because he laid it out for you, and he knows exactly what he's doing. Okay, so we're moving on we are in Genesis 18 now, right? Moved on a bit. And we're kind of just going to talk about being righteous and being righteous in your heart, changing your heart posture a bit. So let me just read this line here. The Lord said, "If I find 50 righteous people in the city of Sodom, I will spare the whole place for their sake." Then it keeps going. "If I find 45 there," he said, "I will not destroy it." He said, "For the sake of 40, I will not do it." He answered, "I will not do it if I find 30 there." He said, "For the sake of 20, I will not destroy it." We're skipping lines here, but you guys get the point. He answered, "For the sake of 10, I will not destroy it." Lots of things here. First of all, God does not destroy people who are following him and who have given their heart to him. So give your heart to him, right? He knows your heart. He understands your heart, and he knows. He knows your intentions. He knows your beliefs. So give yourself to him as soon as you can. And you may save lots of people, first of all, because he is saying here, he's not going to destroy this city if there is just 10 people who believe in him and who have given their lives to them, for the sake of them, right? So, understand that God knows your heart, and just be righteous and trust it, because just understand that he always knows, right? And even if you feel like nobody sees it, just know that he sees it and he knows always. I also have this line highlighted here. Then God said to him in the dream, "Yes, I know you did this with a clear conscience, and so I have kept you from sinning against me. That is why I did not let you touch her. Now return the man's wife, for he is a prophet, and he will pray for you, and you will live. But if you do not return her, you may be sure that you and all who belong to you will die." This again is following the point of God knowing your heart. In this context, Abraham's wife, he gave to a pharaoh, I believe, because he thought in this town that they were going to take his wife if they knew it was his wife. So he said it was his sister, and he gave her to the Pharaoh. But eventually, when Abraham rose into more power, I believe it was, like the Pharaoh was like, you don't like it. I didn't know, right? I didn't know this was his wife. I thought it was his sister, as I've been told. And God's like, I know that your harsh posture was that. I know you didn't know it was his wife. And that's why I didn't allow you to touch her, right? And as long as you give her back, you will be completely okay, right? No repercussions at all. And forgive me if I mess up the story a bit. I'm just trying to remember it. Since I have moved on farther into it, I have to work on my memory and understanding, and keeping things that I'm reading besides just the lessons, like keeping the story in my brain. Again, this is my first time reading. So, more of the story there. God knows your heart. Be God-fearing. Most importantly, fear him. And don't do what you think would upset him, right? Always do the right things. Be God-fearing. And of course, I wrote down anything is possible through God. We're fast forwarding here a couple pages. I'm just going to, important parts that I've highlighted when I read it the first time. I'll read you these lines here. Context. Joseph is imprisoned, and there's going around that he can interpret dreams, right? God gives him the power to interpret dreams and visions correctly. Let me just read it for you. Before I start jumbling all these words around. So Pharaoh sent for Joseph, and he was quickly brought from the dungeon. When he had shaved and changed his clothes, he became before Pharaoh. Pharaoh said to Joseph, I had a dream, and no one can interpret it. But I have heard it said of you that when you hear a dream, you can interpret it. Forgive me for messing up reading. I cannot do it, Joseph replied to the Pharaoh, but God will give Pharaoh the answer he desires. So there's Joseph saying, I can't do it, but God can. Right? Joseph is not saying that he's not going to do it, right? He's going to do this for him, but he's saying it's not me, it's God. So that's giving him the glory. Always give him the glory. Always give God the glory for his own creations, because, again, he created everybody. He created everybody's abilities, and he created everything. So always give him the glory, first of all. And also, fear not, because he has you, right? If you don't think you're capable, through God, anything is possible. So that should be where your confidence is coming from. Understand? All right, and that kind of closes out Genesis, right? Again, my first time reading it. Those are some of my takeaways from it. I hope you guys like these longer videos. I know I certainly do. What I like to do when I commute to my school, it's like a 30-minute drive, so I love listening to podcasts and listening to videos like this. And hopefully that's something you can do. If you can sit and watch a 30-minute video, well, we're not quite 30 minutes in, but we're getting there. Like if you're here right now listening to this, well done, right? If you can listen, right, it's pretty good attention span. If you're enjoying, make sure you drop a subscribe, and I'll make some more videos like this. I want to kind of make this about lifestyle, faith, fitness, just nutrition, just lifestyle and having a good lifestyle. And of course, always working on that faith. But again, I'm going to keep up with these, my first time reading the Bible videos and going over my experience and what I've learned. I'm 20, and it's truly been a blessing reading this and growing in my faith and having a relationship with God. And, this spiritual journey that I've been on the last couple months to a year has been life-changing, and I hope that I can, kind of influence others towards going towards that. But yeah, I felt like I was called to make this video and spread his word, and to spread his light and, hopefully impact some lives. So again, make sure you guys like and subscribe. and I'm looking forward to making more videos on this. Believe that's all I have for you guys. Hopefully you guys learned something, and thanks for sticking around till now. Oh, also, let me know if you guys like the unedited kind of raw footage. I feel like it's kind of nice and refreshing. Okay, that's it. Later.